You're listening to part 1 of a Barefoot Lawyer Reports episode on how Bob Fu, founder and president of China Aid, helped Chen Guangcheng escape from communist China to the United States.
Okay, welcome to this broadcast of the Barefoot Lawyer Reports. I'm William Saunders, the director of the Center for Human Rights at Catholic University. And with me, as always, is our distinguished fellow, Chen Guangcheng. And today we have a special guest, Bob Fu, who's the president of China Aid and is himself Chinese. And he's had a long history with Guangcheng, which I'd like to have him tell us about and let Guangcheng also give his perspective. So, Bob, when did you first learn of Guangcheng?
Thank you, Dr. Saunders, for having me with my country fellow together. Of course, you know, Guangcheng is a very famous fellow that we are all very proud when he was engaging the rights defense activities, especially when he started to defend for the vulnerable. So the first time I heard about him, actually, it was through the Chinese government official media.
Ah.
Yeah, when he at that time was reported as somebody defend the vulnerable, of course, you know, for the rights of the those who can't see, you know. So that was the initial report, and then of course, as he's moving up to help more people, the Communist Party started 180 turn, instead of praising him, then turn against him. I think then some of my good friends who are like mutual friends with Guangcheng, some human rights lawyers had been on the side supporting, working with him on some legal defense cases. So I learned, of course, a little more about his activities.
And as you said, Guangcheng, the more he spoke up for more disadvantaged people, the government got angry with him, and eventually they had arrested him. He had a show trial. He went to jail. So at that point, did you follow that part where he was, you know, he was arrested and put on trial and went to prison?
Oh, you bet. Like really, the whole world, right?
Well, many of the people listening, Bob, believe it or not, will be people who are, you know, 30 years, 40 years younger than us, and they won't remember any of it. So let's tell them.
That's right, yeah. And as you just mentioned, so after the Guangcheng passed the Communist Party's tolerant line by helping more vulnerable people and documenting these cases, you know, over 150,000 or, you know, maybe more than that. These victims of the forced abortion, forced sterilization, and it made him, of course, to the Time magazine.
Right.
And,
we remind people listening that Guangcheng was on the cover of Newsweek as a barefoot lawyer, and then he was on the cover of Time magazine as one of the most influential people.
Yes, number one is for me, of course, as somebody also from Shandong province. My wife actually came exactly from the nearby the hometown of Guangcheng.
Yes.
So we speak the same tongue. So he wanted me to practice. But it's so that's a personal interest, and number two, of course, based on my work. Years of working with the Chinese human rights lawyers. Many of them, of course, all of them are Guangcheng's colleagues over there, and promoting religious freedom and the rule of law that has been of China Aid mission. So I've been following Guangcheng's work, and also later on the Communist Party's wrath against him, and I remembered after he was imprisoned, we have been just so hungry to know what had happened in his prison time. I mean, of course, the crazy charge against him is like blocking traffic for someone who may not pay attention, on that, and is total nonsense to the whole world, and sent him to prison for 5 years, and then later on, of course, he was beaten up, and we were just paying close attention. As much attention as possible to find out what would happen after he was released, and we launched a campaign in the U.S. Of course, remember that eyeglass campaign, sunglasses campaign. So I was traveling in Missouri, and outside the university, I remember on a field, so I posted my sunglass campaign photos.
It was a big international issue what was happening to him in China. People were really following it.
It is, I think.
It was.
Even inside China, the Chinese people.
And what was the purpose of the campaign?
The purpose of the campaign is to free Guangcheng in a real way, and no limitation of his freedom movement and freedom of speech. I mean, that ironically is guaranteed in the Chinese own constitution.
Yep.
So that's why so many Chinese netizens, citizens, human rights lawyers just went to Dongshigu village, that's Guangcheng's village, to try to visit him and show support of him when he was under house arrest.
Yeah, I mean, again, to remind people that don't know all of this, when he was released from prison, they put him under house arrest, which it was like super duper house arrest, because they had thugs, as he says, or bullies around his house to make sure he didn't go anywhere, and they watched him all the time.
Hundreds.
And so many human rights people and democracy advocates and Chinese citizens and people from outside of China would try to come see him, and the thugs wouldn't let them see him, and they would beat him up. So, they would beat people up. And were you in touch with him in some way how did you follow what was actually going on once he went into house arrest?
Yeah, I think that has to contribute to Guangcheng's genius gift of making things happen even in the hardest time. I was not a good CIA operative to find him, but he found me. It was just thousands, hundreds, thousands of miles away, and one day I received a copy of a video that Guangcheng's wife Wei Jing, and I think Guangcheng was part of that great plot, and they recorded inside their house, arrested under the house, where with the thousands of, 3 layers of those guards, thugs, threatening him, beat them up, beat the family members up. And they were able to not only record the video showing those guards, those thugs were on the top of their wall. Surrounding their house. Yeah. And we can even hear the voice of Wei Jing and Guangcheng was talking. That was I remember I was just about to walking into Capitol Hill, I think the speaker's office for a meeting during the national prayer break first time. And all of a sudden I got this, I said, let's stop. So I got all my media team stop, just right at the Capitol Hill office, and we just kind of edited and basically, to make it transferable to our video team. That was the first conversation I had. I mean, in the remote sense, with Guangcheng and Weijing.
Yeah,
of course, that shocked the whole world.
I was going to say, that probably woke up a lot of people in America to what was going on against him. What was your plan? How did you get that video? How did you reach out to people to let them know what was happening?
Reveal the secret?
You don't have to tell the secret, but tell what you can tell.
In fact, after more than 10 weeks, the Communist Party released and took me back home and house arrest. So from the beginning, some media talk about this case. After several weekends, looks like silent outside. So I discussed with my wife. I said, we should let the whole world know what's happening about our family. She said, more than 60 people surround our house. And how we tell them? They set up the jammer.
The jammer.
The jammer, and the police take away all the devices, and how we can do that? And so I said, we should find a way. Nothing
is impossible.
Is impossible. Just keep positive. So later, we found a way. He said, when I escaped to Beijing, Hu Jia helped me to bought a video camera, but until now I don't know how to use it. Even I don't know how to charge it. I said, no problem. Show me. I can know how to do that. So later, we make it work. Make it work. I said, okay, take a video. Then we found a way to let the friends know what's happening. Then they will find a way to work with us to get free. So Beijing tried to use that, and we found a place that the guard can't see us, so we do the video. We almost finish our video, right? We take more than 40 minutes. Then the guard climb our wall. Weijing said, "Oh, look at that guard. He look for us from the outside of the yard," and so he took the video and make them in the video. So later,
wait a minute, he took the video from you, or you took a picture of him?
Weijing took the video
of him.
Of him. So later, if the guard come in, we will put the video camera in the leaves. That is the winter. We prepare a lot of leaves, leaves in our yard to burn, to get warm, and we just put the cameras in that, so the guard can't find that.
That's good.
So later, I remember tomorrow we take another part in that video, make that video around 70 minutes. Later, we found a ways to ask my family member and my friends to copy different copies and send them to Shanghai, Beijing, and different places. I told them, you have the right to make my voice
heard.
Heard. Let the whole world know.
He waived the copyright.
Yes. So don't worry about our situation. Just expose more and more. So later we found a way. So my brother and another friend, I tried a different way. Someone arrived. My friend Bob Foss.
It was really
organization. So
miraculous. I mean, the little story actually he did not mention the camera, or there's no battery, right? How do you charge battery? Yesterday he told me the first time I get time to ask him about that. He said he just asked for a flashlight, and he used that.
Wow.
And made his own battery charger.
Yeah.
I think Elon Musk should hire him.
I do too.
As the chief technology officer.
I do too. So Bob, so you're kind of in touch with him in the sense of you knew what was going on in house arrest, what was happening to him. So what did you do then? Did you just try to publicize what was going on to more people, or what did you do after you saw that video?
Well, part of China Aid, we have the mission. One of the two missions is expose the abuses, the persecution, and encourage the abused. And we expose by, of course, with the highest level advocacy, diplomatic intervention. Of course, Guangcheng was, reported, known. But, in order to push the U.S. elected officials, politicians to act, they need voters turnout. They need the voice, of the American people. So we know that. So we kind of really wants to push the Guangcheng's voice as much as possible to the American people and the world, right? Mm-hmm. And also, of course, we kept asking the U.S. Congress and the administration to really engage with China. The more voice, the more often Guangcheng and Weijing and the family's names are mentioned in their bilateral, dialogue or relations, the safer it means for Guangcheng.
Yes.
We know that, right?
Yes.
The more silent or the more under the table dialogue, the less safer, safe for them. So that's how we operate. So I of course, went to Congress, asked them to pass resolution specifically for Guangcheng situation. I remembered that was the one day in the House Foreign Affairs Committee, and they basically write a resolution and passed it unanimously and through the committee. Just for Guangcheng. I think it was astonishing. And thanks to the bipartisan support, and especially our hero, the Catholic devotee, Congressman Chris Smith, right? And of course the European Parliament, and then you push the White House, National Security Council, to act. It's just a kind of a joint, multifaceted campaign effort.
Bob, did this kick off? So this was before he escaped his house?
That's right. So people that are listening that haven't read his book, you should read his book, because it tells you how he escaped, which is, if you don't believe in miracles, you will when you read that, how he escaped, because he's surrounded by guards and thugs, and he escapes at night by himself, and he's a blind man, so it's impossible, but he did it. Mm-hmm. And he got to Beijing, and he got to the U.S. Embassy, and then things got kind of complicated, because although the U.S. welcomed him at first, the Chinese communists tried to get the U.S. government to return him by promising they would treat him well. And I'm smiling when I say that for people listening, because you can't trust liars, but they were trying to get the U.S. government to trust them. So tell us, pick up the story from the time he kind of got to the embassy. Yeah, as you mentioned, after the miraculous, daring escape, of Guangcheng, nobody believed that, right? It's but God helps that, so I heard about it immediately. I just contact my friend in the U.S. Who actually was working in the U.S. consulate in Shanghai from the U.S. Embassy in Beijing. He used to be there, and who later on became Senator Rubio's assistant. And I said, Guangcheng is on his way. Guangcheng is like need a safe place. And I remember it was very early morning in Shanghai. He said, "Oh, wait for me. I can't say that in my bedroom. I mean, this diplomat's bedroom might be, bugged and monitored." So he kind of rushed to his patio, outside his apartment, and basically turn on. We use the special kind of communication way. And I shared with him. He said he will immediately report, kind of get things up. Of course, Guangcheng has some other friends also in Beijing. Started the diplomatic push. And I think, that time was like a real movie time.
Yes,
we have maybe the most intensive U.S.-China relations, diplomatic, national interest, national security, and versus this, a blind human rights lawyer that makes the headline for the whole world. We were honestly really holding our breath whether the U.S. government will do what is promised to do to protect.
You've been listening to part 1 of a Barefoot Lawyer Reports episode on how Bob Fu, the founder and president of China Aid, helped Chen Guangcheng escape from communist China to the United States. Check back next week for episode 2.